You're right, guys. How we doing? Today, I'd like to talk about something that I spoke with a client not too long ago. So his program. Well, when he came to me, I asked him obviously a few questions to get to know a bit more about him, what his goals are, where he's going or where he wants to go, and what I could provide for him in order to, get him closer to that goal. Now, when you ask these questions and, you get to know the client and actually figure out who they are, what they're capable of, what's their training age, how long have they been lifting or whatever, the most vital question is, I do need to know your weight. I do need to know how much you're lifting. So I will ask for a 1 rep max in a handful of lifts. What is your 1 rep max? What can you shoulder press? What can you squat? What can you deadlift? What can you bench press? What can you 1 rep max? Let's say power cleans. What's your best power clean? It's really handy to know that information, and for really good reason. Now, because he didn't give me an answer, because he doesn't really know, because he can't really put dates on any of them. He doesn't really remember what he got last. So he's a bit up in the air. So I said, okay, the best thing we can do at the minute is just put you on a general program. We're going to just start. I'm going to throw some numbers in. You're going to do your first week and we're going to see how you react. If it's too heavy, based on the information you've given me, and we can go from there and we can make adaptations and we can just kind of ride into the program. After 2 months of just some general preparation and just building up some volume, building up some fatigue, we're going to start peaking, and I want you to set within a week 1 rep maxes for 4 lifts: overhead press, bench press, squat and deadlift. Just 4 lifts. I just need that information, so then when we finish that and we finished your peak, you'll be on a fully periodized program where all the percentages are laid out for you. You know exactly what weights we're going to be hitting, why we're going to be hitting them, and it can actually be planned properly. And he didn't quite understand why, and a lot of people don't, and a lot of people think that a 1 rep max is merely just something to boost your ego or to show off in front of people or put on Instagram, and it's not. In fact, it's fucking vital for coaches, at least to know that. Or even if you're programming yourself, it's so vital to know what your maximal output is at that time or on a set date, because that is what underpins your whole training bubble around it. It all starts from a maximum, whether that be maximal strength, like a 1 rep max on a squat, or it be a 100-meter sprint, or some kind of agility test, or whatever. There's you need these tests in order to come back to then go, right, 20 weeks ago we was here, now we're 20 weeks on, we're here, we have made X amount of progress, as we can see on this test. So a 1 rep max, don't think of it as so much as an ego thing, but as more of a test. But not only that, in order to really deliver in a program what coaches need to deliver, you need to know what qualities of performance you need to be putting in the athlete. So for example, powerlifters, let's say we have quite a big mesocycle of like 6 months, right? So quite a big cycle there, right, of training. It's quite a bit of time relatively. You're going to start off, as always, with a general preparation, loads of variation. You're going to be doing high volume, median weights. You're not going to be going too crazy. And then as you go on through the cycle, you're going to start hitting those heavier numbers leading up to a comp. That's pretty much the standard way of treating, let's say, a strength athlete. So when you're in, let's say, for video sakes, for people to understand, let's say your hypertrophy phase and you're building muscle and your general preparatory phase, what are the qualities that you need to be focused on during those blocks? Well, you're going to be focused on muscular endurance. You're going to be focusing on maybe a little bit of strength endurance, stuff like that. Maybe a bit of speed work. But how do you know what numbers you should be hitting if you don't know what percentage of a 1RM you need to be doing? It's no good saying, right, we need to do speed work, all right? So we're going to start building up some good qualities and a good base ready for, the rest of your cycle. If we don't know what weights we need to be working at in order to be properly hitting some proper speed work or power work, we're clueless. We're just guessing. We're not actually doing our job properly. And let's say you have a track athlete and a part of their weightlifting program, which would be very small, you need to be working on power, maximum force exertion in the quickest time possible. And that's not 1 rep max strength. That is like your power cleans. That's your power snatches, your stuff like that. What weights should you be working at? You don't know, because you haven't got a 1 rep max to work off. And, to waste 3 weeks of programming to find out costs a lot of time. And if you're on that time limit and they have, an event coming up, you haven't got that kind of time to find out. Luckily with my client, we have all the time in the world because he doesn't compete, doesn't aim on competing. He does it just generally for himself. I've got that time to work with him and build him up and then give him time to adapt to the stimulus that I'm giving him. But it's so imperative that you guys get that information. Even if you test it every 6 months, just a quick tester. Let's just be in a gym, be a little mock meet, whatever. Just put your shit on, do a 1 rep max, log it. That's it, it's done. It's a test. 1 rep max strength, unless you're competing, is a test. It is nothing more. And I think that it should be seen as a test and not an ego thing. This is how you can show off your progress. There is other ways that, like for example, my 5 sets of 5 has now increased than it was 4 months ago. Sure, but your maximum power output might not have. You might have just got very good at endurance. So like strength endurance is that kind of quality. 5x5s, 6x5s, stuff like that. That's a good quality to have, but it doesn't always contribute to maximal strength. So it's the biggest test you've got. Same with the sprint, same with an agility test. It's a marker, and that's all it is. And it can make sure that your training is flowing consistently. If you get to a point where, let's say theoretically, you didn't test your max, it's been about a fucking year, and you're using progressive overload, your weights have now got heavier, without knowing what your max is, are you really hitting the right percentage range to be working power? Well, you don't know anymore, because it's been like a year and a half. You've made progress, but how much progress? Do you know that you're hitting 80% of your 1 rep max, for endurance work? You don't know, because you don't know what the number is. It's okay to have 6 month spans because, we allow ourselves to progress, we go up and up. But after a while, you're going to need to keep refreshing that number and just making sure that you haven't gone a bit over the top. And now you're not so much doing endurance work or strength endurance or muscular endurance, and you've just pushed the limit a bit. It's always handy to know, and especially to know where your athletes are at, or where yourself's at, like I said. But I just wish that, more people would consider 1 rep max strength to be a better tool than just a show off kind of put on TikTok thing. But anyway, that's enough from me today. I hope, one of you out there find this interesting, whoever's watching me. So, but yeah, anyway, good evening, guys, and I'll see you in a bit.